Like to call the village board meeting to order. Roll call, please.
President Byrne,
Here.
Trustee Schultz,
Here. He's not here.
Trustee Schwartz,
Here.
Trustee Williams, Trustee Hebda, Trustee Cook,
Here.
Trustee Markwart.
Here.
We have a quorum present. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Are there any citizens that wish to address the board tonight on any matter other than what's on committee of the whole? Because it's on committee of the whole, then I'll call upon you then. Okay. So basically, we got developers and firemen here, slash paramedics. Okay. Is it? Okay. First item is Finance Director Larry Nakron, presentation of Vernon Hills Police Pension Fund Actuarial Valuation Report.
Okay. The first item to note for the 2012 valuation report, actuarial valuation report, which actually determines the number that we contribute during FY 2013-14, is that what we did was we did a trade-off. We cut the investment assumption from 6.25% to 6%. You know, we've gone 2-3 years ago was 7%, then we cut it to 6.5%, then last year 6.25%. This year we've cut it to 6%. We've done that. Our 10-year average right now is 5.7. Our 5-year average is 4.9. Last year we had a return of 4.8%. And you know, it's to our benefit in the future to cut the investment assumption rate, because when we exceed the assumption rate, we actually improve the funding, and when we are below it, the closer we are to it, the less we hurt the funding. So the lower the target, the more it helps us in the future. At the same time, what we did was we increased the amortization period from 21 years to the legally allowable 29 years. And I believe this is justified by the fact that we had such a abnormal market in FY 2009 when we had a negative 9.4% return. So this gives us a little more time to recover from it. And the contribution by the switch didn't change much. It went from about 1.33 million to 1.29 million. It did lower the investment return, the funding level from 72.7% if we had stayed with the old assumptions to 70.2%. But to some extent, it's a more realistic to conservative funding level. The higher the interest rate assumption, the better your funding level, but the less likely you're going to actually maintain or improve that funding level. What we did not do was some of the what I consider the more hurtful things of Public Act 96-1495. We stayed with the entry age normal cost method rather than the projected unit credit cost method. The latter method pushes too much of the cost into the later years, and the state now is using that method, but we're using the more conservative method. The state is also, in the new laws, says you can aim for 90% funding. We're still aiming for 100%. If we had done what the state required, the contribution would be $1,087,000. What we're doing this year is $1,291,000 using more conservative assumptions than the state. That's up from $1,176,000 last year, which is a 9.8% increase. But if you look at what we've done in the last 4 years, we were at $1,173,000 3 years ago, $1,235,000 2 years ago, $1,176,000 last year. So we're just 4.5% above what we were 2 years ago, 10.1% above what we were 3 years ago. So we're averaging about, over the last 4 years, basically a 3.3% increase a year. The overall rate of the overall village contribution is about a 31.7% of base salary, of which 18.2% is based on current costs, and the remaining 13.5% is what's needed to cover the unfunded liability. Of course, you have the issue as you decrease the size of the police force, the unfunded liability falls on on fewer and fewer people, rather. Any questions before I get into the?
Is Smith Barney here tonight?
No, didn't bring Smith Barney.
Oh, well, okay. What do we, what's our investment, I guess, portfolio look like? I mean, what can we invest in, what can't we invest in? And I just,
Well,
we don't invest in any state of Illinois bonds, do we?
we do actually invest in insured municipal bonds. We have a small portion of our portfolio. Right now, 55% of our portfolio can go into equities, mutual funds. We're in a whole variety of things in well-diversified portfolio, which includes a variety of value growth, international, emerging market equities, as well as.
And it's all through Smith Barney.
Well, no, actually, it's Greystone Consulting, who is affiliated with Smith Barney, acts as our consultant. But it's not through Smith Barney. It's through they help us with our searches and with our manager selection, our mutual fund selection. But we're with a variety
So there's no individual stocks that are in this
right,
portfolio?
Right. We're not. Well, through investment managers, we're allowed to invest in individual stocks through investment managers, but we don't buy stocks individually. In other words, we select a manager, and that manager will purchase and sell stocks, and they'll make the stock selection.
So do we have any blue chip stocks that have paid dividends for 25 years in a row in our portfolio?
We do have managers who endorse that philosophy, and right now that seems we're looking for more and more of those types of companies, because that becomes something of a substitute for fixed income, when fixed income is basically not doing very well at all.
Okay.
The other 45% of our portfolio, and also in the 55% is high yield bonds, sometimes called junk bonds. In the 40, but we have a well-diversified, again, through a manager, well-diversified portfolio.
A non-Orange County kind of thing, right?
Yeah, actually, it's really mainly it's corporate. It's not municipal. And then the other 45% is what used to be restricted to treasuries and agencies, and now we're also doing top-rated corporate bonds in that portfolio. That was part of the Public Act I referred to, opened up the corporate bond sector.
So is the actuary here tonight?
No, I didn't.
Nobody's here.
No, I'm sorry.
we're paying all this money.
I'm here, but I know that doesn't.
What kind of fees are we paying to whoever it is, Smith Barney, the actuary? I mean, what does that shown in any of these documents?
The actuary paid us. The pension fund had paid him $2,900 for his report.
For this year?
Yeah.
And then how about, how do we get nicked by, our other Smith Barney types?
Let me see. For Smith Barney, it's an asset-based, or the Greystone Consulting, it was about $50-some thousand is what we paid last year in fees for them. And then there are individual manager fees. So we're paying anywhere between 25 and, depending on like an emerging market, something like 55 basis points for for the management of our portfolio.
So how does that compare to any other, you know, I guess, investment, you know, stockbrokers, whatever you want to call it, you know?
Well, I mean, that is what, when we look at the investment managers and when we look at the mutual funds, that's one thing we compare. And generally it compares favorably.
And when was the last time we changed?
Well, we changed managers, probably, you know, some of them we've had for 3-4 years, some of them we change on a yearly basis. I mean, it depends on if we identify issues with the manager. We've used Greystone Consulting for over a decade.
Okay. So he's kind of driving the bus on that.
Yeah, I'd say so, but I'd also make the point that, and actually, I do wish the actuary was here, but it did point, our actuary who handles about 100 funds did talk about the fact that this was a very rough market this year, and even though the 4.8% was disappointing, it was one of the better returns he saw among our cohorts this year.
And, you know, since we're into, you know, comparables and comparables, you know, when it comes salary negotiation times, so where do we fit in as far as being funded? What percentile of towns are funded
Well,
to 70% or 75, whatever we are?
You know, there was that state report 2-3 years ago, and we were, except for a few real anomalies, we were one of the 30 best funded funds in the state.
How many towns are in the state of Illinois?
Hundreds. I mean, there are
There's
hundreds
about
of
1,200.
there are hundreds.
We're
of-
1,200, so we're in the top.
There's probably about 700 pension funds.
Is there 700, even though there's more?
680 or 700.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're in the top
Yeah.
1 percentile?
And the other, yes.
All right, so how much do you want us to put in this year then?
What the actuary suggested, which is 1,291,000. Now, I will make the point, I mean, the 6% funding level is where I believe we should be. The actuary made the point that he's not aware of anybody who's actually gone to 6%. But there were a lot of our cohorts across the state who back in the good days of the 90s thought that was a perfect opportunity to raise the investment assumption to 9%. We stayed at 7% when a lot of them were going up into 8 and 9%. Now we're taking the lead in lowering our assumption, and at the very least, I'd say being realistic. Hopefully, we're being conservative, but I think being conservative sets us up for a good foundation in the long run.
And who sets the 2029 date?
The-
You know, as far as being
You
fully
mean the
funded?
29 amortization? That was set in Public Act
By the
96.
General Assembly for the state of Illinois?
Yeah.
Holy Christ. You know.
Now, last year,
Yeah. Okay, so they did, but they never set one for themselves, right? No. Okay, you know.
well,
All right, so basically, maybe maybe I'm interpreting this wrong, but 2029 is probably, you know, arbitrary and capricious because it'll probably raise to 2039.
yeah.
We're all pushing
it's-
up daisies.
It's been raised several times before.
All right,
Now, if
all right, Larry, we don't have to go any further with this. So what's the lowest number you want us to fund?
Well, let me just act out one thing, just a little dramatization. When the state of Illinois, back in the 80s and 90s, got their actuarial report, this is what they did with it.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Oh, you mean talking for people at home watching this?
Yeah.
Mayor,
I just want to say, we're very solvent, and we're very compliant, and we've always done the right thing.
Mayor, let me, in defense of my colleague, or he doesn't need
You
defense,
don't have to defend,
but
yeah.
I should say that, remember, when we, and I'm sure Larry would say this, when we invest money, that we, meaning the pension board, in pension funds, they have much more flexibility than we do. So that's not to say we put more in than we need to, but that money has the potential to earn more than what we can earn on our,
Oh, you mean,
0.95 CDs that, we're restricted
I
by
mean,
the
as
state
a
law.
community.
Right. So, in other words, the extra dollar you put into the police pension fund has the ability to earn more over time. And with greater risk, of course, but
Right.
Larry can speak.
Well, I guess the only reason I'm, pontificating somewhat is that, I want to point out the fact that some public bodies actually can, operate a pension fund and do it responsibly and actually make sure it's up to a level that'll cover the people that work for at least our police department, as opposed to the mopes down in Springfield.
So what you're saying is you don't want to take a pension holiday for a few years like
No,
Blagojevich?
no, we're not, yeah, we're not taking any pension holidays there, I don't know.
Well, and the fact that you've always been conservative considering our rate of return, and we still got, as Roger would say, nicked when the world fell apart.
Yeah.
And you asked us to put in extra money because we had to bring it back up to the right level. So I would 100% want to stay with being very conservative in what we think our rate of return is going to be, because I would not like to see that happen again.
Okay, so we have the recommended amount of
$1,291,079. I will bring this back in the budget. I just wanted to
Right.
present that to you. And allow me to make one other point when we discuss funding percentages. The fact that we dropped our investment assumption from 6.25% to 6%, lowered our funding from 72 to 70%, or 72.7 to 70.2, so 2.5%. If we were using the 7% assumption, we'd be 80% funded. So, comparing funding levels without comparing the underlying assumptions is also a deceptive thing. Deceptive is the wrong word, a misleading thing. When some, as I say, municipalities were 100% funded with 9% investment returns,
Right.
which worked great as long as they got 9% investment return.
I understand, yeah. Okay, is that about it on this one?
And then I do have very closely tied to this, the House Bill 5088 Municipal Compliance Report, which basically is just a bunch of summary statistics, one of which is our funding level is 70.2%. It also talks about our contribution and restates all the assumptions that I just mentioned. But that's also, a requirement of the General Assembly that report be provided to the boards.
So,
Again, because
obviously, we're not taking any action on this tonight.
Right,
Part of the budget, right.
right.
So we
Mayor,
could-
would
we-
you?
So we could always downshift to the 87,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could, but the problem with the way that number was calculated is so many of the calculations are designed to push costs into the future. When you're talking about pension funding, it's not what the costs are, it's how you allocate the costs in the present versus the future.
Yep.
And a lot of the very actuarial method that the state now sets as to come up with that base number is a method that just pushes costs into the future.
And
Not
how-
even discussing. the
How many
investment fund.
sworn officers are in our plan right now?
Let me see, there are.
40 what?
There will be
40
43 active police officers, and I think there are 14 on retirement or disability pension.
Okay, so,
43 plus
We've-
the three?
what's that?
43 plus the three?
Which three?
No, you just said something about three.
40,
It was 42, I thought, and then
Yeah, I think it's
so how many
31
officers are we funding out of
officers,
this?
32.
What's
Four
the number?
sergeants, six commanders,
Is
two
it
deputy chiefs and
45?
a chief.
Let's see. At
Is it
the,
30
at the
30?
time this report was done,
I think they had it in here.
let's see, there were a total of 42 active officers and 16 retirees and beneficiaries.
42 plus 16, 58.
Okay. So we're gonna put in, how much, $27,000 a person roughly?
Yeah, yeah.
For how many people? For the
For-
16 too?
No, not for the 16.
Right,
So, I mean, unfortunately, the 16,
are drawing down.
yeah, are.
Yeah, I understand that
Right.
part. Well, yeah, they're retired.
Right,
We wouldn't be having this discussion if somebody didn't retire.
right.
Okay, so we're doing this for 45,
Well, we're doing this we're doing this partly to make up the unfunded liability.
right. Okay.
So,
So it's $27,000 per,
Right,
actually working sworn police officer.
right.
Okay. Did the press get that, or are you just surfing the internet over there? Okay. All right,
well,
fine.
Mayor,
Yeah.
Mayor, I should say, as you know, we're members of the Illinois Pension Coalition.
Right, yeah, I
And
know.
unfortunately, it looks like, the legislature first has to work on the 5 state pension funds or some part of it. And one of the big problems is, I'm sure everybody's read, is that the teacher is shifting the cost to local property tax for the teachers' pension funds. So that's one of the problems with working out a deal with the 5 state pension funds. From what we hear, I just communicated with our lobbyists today, plus I was on a conference call yesterday with our pension coalition. It looks like there won't be any pension legislation in the lame duck session. They're getting members ready new members acclimated about the pension issues, and they're supposed to take that up. So the next part would be municipalities have been working on the police and fire side of it, and that won't get addressed, if it ever does, until they address the 5 state pension funds. So that's kind of a timeline.
Okay, on that positive note, we gotta go on to the other agenda. All right, Larry, thanks for the update and your answers within reason. Okay. All right, next item is the omnibus vote agenda. Is there a motion to approve items A through I?
So moved.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Comments, questions? If not, roll call, please.
President Byrne,
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz,
Aye?
Trustee Williams, Trustee Hebda, Trustee Cook,
Aye.
Trustee Markwart,
Aye.
Trustee Schultz.
Motion carries. Okay, unfinished business. Is there A is approval of the Kemper voucher list of bills dated December 4th, 2012 in the amount of $7,636.17. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Motion is second. Roll call, please.
President Byrne,
Aye.
Trustee Williams, Trustee Hebda, Trustee Cook,
Aye.
Trustee Markwart,
Aye.
Trustee Schultz, Trustee Schwartz.
Abstain?
Motion carries. B, approval of Kemper voucher list of bills dated December 18th, 2012 in the amount of $9,905.59. Is there a motion to approve?
So made.
Second?
Motion is second. Roll call, please.
President Byrne,
Aye.
Trustee Hebda, Trustee Cook,
Aye.
Trustee Markwart,
Aye.
Trustee Schultz, Trustee Schwartz,
Abstain?
Trustee Williams.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve village board minutes of December 4th, 2012?
So moved.
Second?
Motion is second. Comments, questions, corrections, deletions? If none, roll call, please.
President Byrne,
Aye.
Trustee Cook,
Aye.
Trustee Markwart,
Aye.
Trustee Schultz, Trustee Schwartz,
Aye.
Trustee Williams, Trustee Hebda.
Motion carries. Is there any new business or communication to come before the board? We gotta go to closed session for what, litigation?
Potential litigation and property disposition.
Okay, and we'll do that after committee of the whole. All right, is there a motion to adjourn the village board meeting?
So made.
Second?
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
President Byrne,
Aye.
Trustee Markwart,
Aye.
Trustee Schultz, Trustee Schwartz,
Aye.
Trustee Williams, Trustee Hebda, Trustee Cook.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. I'd like to call committee of the whole meeting of the Vernon Hills Village Board to order. First item is approval of committee of the whole minutes of December. Well, we already did that, didn't we? Oh, that was board
And that
minutes.
was board as
Yeah,
committee.
this is committee minutes of the whole, of December 4th, 2012. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
President Byrne, Trustee Schultz.
I didn't say aye yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, aye.
Trustee,
Fuck, I was, yeah. wait a minute.
Trustee Schultz, Trustee Schwartz,
Aye.
Trustee Williams, Trustee Hebda, Trustee Cook,
Aye.
Trustee Markwart.
Aye.
Motion carries. Dave and Buster's concept presentation for their proposed location in Westfield Hawthorne Mall.
Thank you, Your Honor. Representatives are here tonight from Dave & Buster's to introduce the restaurant arcade entertainment business that they're proposing to locate at Westfield. As you see in your report, they're proposing to occupy space near the southeast entrance of the mall between Carson's and Sears. I guess with that, I'll just indicate, after the introduction here and your comments, just so you're aware, they will go in partnership or in tandem with Westfield to go through the zoning entitlement process. They'll need approval of a special use permit for a restaurant that serves alcohol and an arcade with electronic games. There's also likely to be a variation that's going to be required for the number of amusement or arcade type devices that'll be inside the restaurant. So with that, I'll turn it over to Lisa Warner, who's with Dave & Buster's, and she can introduce her team and walk you through who they are.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
Yes,
With the
Lisa
mic.
Warren, into the microphone.
Warren?
Warren, W-A-R-R-E-N,
Okay.
and I'm the Vice President of Development for Dave & Buster's,
And where's Dave and Buster's corporate headquarters?
Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
And with me tonight, I've got Rick Sackley, our Regional Director of Operations, James Brousseau, our National Director of Security, Mark O'Henley with Aria Group Architects, Mariah DeGrino with DLA Piper, and standing shoulder to shoulder with me is Hide Kashima with Westfield.
So no Hal Frank. I was getting all nervous with anticipation.
We know.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And I believe what was distributed prior to the meeting was a presentation of our company overview, a number of photos of new stores, a floor plan of what we're proposing. And so I won't go through all of those slides again tonight. I really want to open up the discussion for questions about who we are and what we want to bring to the village, because we're very excited about it. I do want to highlight, before we get into sort of a day in the life of what our operations teams and how we run our stores and provide our guest experience, I want to talk to you a little bit about who we are as an employer and a community member, because I don't think that story always gets told. I'm hoping that at some point you all have been or will be guests of a Dave & Buster's, and so you will know it from that standpoint. But we just celebrated earlier this month our 30th anniversary. So we're really proud and have a great tradition. We were started, of course, by Dave and Buster. They were living in Little Rock, Arkansas, and became friends and partners, and then brought the concept to Dallas, Texas, to open their first store in 1982. and from there they have grown and grown. We now have 59 locations nationwide, and next month we will roll over to 60, so we are growing by leaps and bounds. We have about 7,000 employees in our company. And as an employer, we really believe in four things. One is that we treat the company and we approach our business with a founder spirit because our founders still are involved in the business, especially in a charitable ambassadors for us. We have a national partnership with Make-A-Wish Foundation, which becomes a strong program that we bring to all of our stores. But in addition, each location also does some local charity events and partnerships throughout of their choice. We also believe in a you got it attitude toward guests and towards one another. Buster believed that everybody was somebody, so we have 140 to 160 jobs in every store, and every position is important, and everybody is treated equally, and we want to develop people in their personal and professional lives. So all of these things really do add up to being part of a great company, and we feel like when we come to a community, one of our main goals is becoming a partner in that community. This would be our fourth store in the Chicagoland area. We've got one store in Addison, which is some of you may have visited. We have one downtown, and then a very new opening down in Orland Park. What we would present to bring to the village of Vernon Hills is similar to what we opened in Orland Park, but actually a little bit larger. So we're excited to be part of the Westfield redevelopment, and we are working closely with Hide and his team to bring that to life. And so at this point, I'd like to turn it over and open it to your questions to talk a little bit about what a daily operations life is for our guests and for our management team, as well as our alcohol service and any security questions that you may have.
Trustee Cook?
How do the square footages of what you're proposing here compare to Addison? Because that's the one I've been to.
Yeah, Addison is a little bit larger. It's about 50 to 55,000 square feet. What we have found is that 40,000 square feet is what we call our large footprint, and that's sort of the sweet spot. And versus the store in Addison, what you will see is we've really economized the back of house space. From a guest standpoint, the game room, what we call the midway, as well as the restaurant and the bar are all about the same size as the Addison location. It may have the special event space that we have, and by special event, I mean the rooms that you can make a reservation and have either a large or smaller party, private event in. They're arranged a little bit differently in our newer stores.
So what's the size of this, what's the square footage
40,000.
40,000.
in between the two stores?
No, 40,000 for the proposed location.
No, I mean, the two spaces, are you taking over two spaces or three spaces or? Yeah, and for those watching at home when this runs, this is near the Sears entrance on the upper level,
No, lower.
lower level.
Level, southeast
In
corner.
Cars,
Okay.
Facing 60,
in Carson's.
It'll be replacing what's now the Glow Golf space.
Correct. It'll be a culmination of maybe 4 or 5 spaces. We have,
Well, the glow in the dark, that was upstairs.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's where this will be.
Well, that's what I
upstairs
ju-
and the downstairs.
so the
Yeah.
access.
But you'll enter from the
But the
southeast.
preponderance is gonna be upstairs.
Hide, use the
Yeah.
Yeah.
use the portable
Okay.
mic.
So the access is going to be in the first level where I believe it used to be a dentist. As
Okay.
you first get in on that southeast entrance. And then you'll,
To your left, that space.
right, exactly, as you go in to the left.
And then
that-
is the opinion center still there?
Yeah, right now it's just vacant space, so.
Okay.
We're going to turn that into the main entry for Dave & Buster's. And there'll be, I think, a checkpoint at that point, and you can go up they have a spiral staircase or an elevator. And then I think on the second level, where that 38,000 you see right here, is the majority of the restaurant/entertainment space. And this is Glow Golf currently right here. We have Build-A-Bear, Delia's, and some other vacant spaces. So it'll be a consolidation of that.
Okay, yeah. I mean, so this is You'll have an outside elevation of some sort?
Yes,
And that's Sears to the right, Carson's to the left.
yep.
Okay.
Good evening. Yeah, the existing Sears is right here to the right, and Westfield is doing a remodel to some of their entrances. And then the Dave and Buster's entrance would be here to the left.
Yeah.
So that main entry is gonna be kind of gone? You know, how do I explain it? The southeast corner.
Yeah, currently,
Into the mall.
yeah, currently there's kind of an entrance that angles out that's being remodeled and kind of modernized.
So we'll have,
So
Yeah, you'll still be able to enter the mall.
that's what
Correct.
I was
Right.
Yes.
We would-
Right.
We'd have
No,
our
it's
own
just that you'll have a separate entrance because of the difference in hours and that.
Right.
So we are removing the existing canopy that exists right now. We're pulling back the new entrance, making it a bigger exposure there. And then Dave & Buster's will have two entries, one directly from the outside, which you see right here.
Yeah.
And then as you enter, there'll be a mall side entry as well.
And what could be on that concept drawing, what's to the right of that
said burgers, but
or the black, the black,
That is a future burger joint that we're, or burger restaurant that we don't have
I
a,
can't see.
we don't have a lease executed yet, so we put a generic name, but it's going to be a really good, one of the more popular burger, customized burger restaurants. So,
I mean, obviously, we don't have building materials. We'll go through that when we start technical review. But, I mean, what do you, what do I see there as far as to the right of the Westfield sign? Is that brick?
this is going to be, they're going to leave the existing brick out there. And what, I think this has gone through many iterations between Westfield and Dave & Buster. And I think
Yeah.
Aria Group and Dave & Buster should be commended because I think this is a really nice solution here. This right here where you see the orange panels,
Yeah.
that's an existing mechanical room. And it's just a blank wall right now. And what they've been able to do here is really create a nice entry portal. This white panel right here, you see this background with a nice little Dave & Buster signage. This will be very visible to people that are parking and driving around. And it will attract the people directly into this location, and you'll easily see the doors. And then they have some graphics that they'll be putting out there. And I think it goes very well, it goes real nicely with our new entry, so.
I just want to, are any of these drawings representative of what you did in Orland Park, or is this just a concept kind of prototype?
That building on the cover is in Orlando, Florida, but if you go towards the back of the presentation, it is the Orland Park facade. The one where there's blue trim around the facade, that's actually the exterior of the Orland Park building.
Here, why don't you take this and show me? Here.
pictures. There we go.
The orange panels will be orange.
Yeah, that's what we're proposing right now is orange metal panels on the building.
A two-tone type thing,
Yeah, 2 or 3 tones is kind of their current standard.
kind of purple orange.
Yeah.
And Lisa, this color of orange is your corporate sort of logo now?
You want to grab the mic, Hide, when you, please?
Right, I think what Hide was speaking to was, we are intentionally branding this color of orange, and if you see in your presentation package, the very last exterior photograph is the store that we just opened on our 30th anniversary in Dallas, Texas, and you'll see that orange banding along the top that we think is becoming a signature element for us, so that even if you don't have a view of the sign, you know that that's where the Dave & Buster's is.
You got it here?
You're kind of going
That's what it looks
to
like.
plan on incorporating that into your logo in some manner.
No, at this time, the logo is as is, I guess, standard.
I guess I should say the colors, you're planning on using those in your future stores, so there'll be kind of a brand?
Yes,
Gotcha.
yes.
Well, where's this one at?
That's in Orlando, Florida.
Okay,
Yeah, I saw that one.
it's not bad.
No.
Well, the colors are perfect. It's Bears in Illinois, so.
The Orlando,
I
Florida
was gonna
building.
say Orlando, Florida is a little more, you know.
And that was a freestand, we built that building freestanding, and
I just
same with
thought,
the
you know,
one in
not to-
Dallas.
You know, not to get, you know, spend too much time on the orange, but I mean, is it gonna look like a Home Depot kind of orange?
Oh, God, I hope not.
No, I don't think so. I think it's got,
Well, I mean,
I mean, do you
Is it
mean
gonna-
from a
is it gonna-
brand confusion
it's
standpoint?
gonna look
or-
like this, or?
Well, there's different
mean, 'cause-
colors of the orange, so it's a gradiated effect, so that it's not just a solid facade of
guess.
orange.
It look,
We'll
you know,
see.
you can't see it. I mean, how wide is that band of orange gonna be?
Well, it's in
I mean,
several places.
Is it
so-
like 5 feet high or something, or?
Well, I think as it's being proposed for this development, we're using it to accent the corner. So in this proposal, it would be from floor to, is this 23 feet, or how high is the parapet? 28.7. So
Is
in
it-
this instance, it won't ban our whole space, if you will. We're using it more as an accent place to sort of demark the corner.
So it's gonna be 28 feet high by
Right.
how long?
Yeah, right now we're wrapping the existing facade of the building, and I don't know if your question's on the individual size of the orange panels. Right now, they're about 3 feet by 5 feet, the individual colors, and then they're kind of blended together to create the facade.
And, okay.
Well, the fact that it's graded like that breaks up, it's not like a massive orange. It's quite well broken up.
Correct.
Okay. Does anybody else got any comments on the trustee Schwartz?
Not on the facade, this is just a different question. So if you had a group of 16-year-olds that wanted to come in, is there one guardian for a group of them, or for each person, or how do you monitor that?
Yeah. Let me ask Rick to come up and speak to our minors policy.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah, we're going to be 18 and older. If you're under 18, you need to be accompanied by an adult 25 years or older.
So that would be per under
4 to 1.
18 child,
Yeah.
under 18-year-old, okay.
It's a
And
4
then
to
is
1
there gonna be a point during the night where it's only gonna be 21 and older?
We're doing it in our stores. We're doing an 11 o'clock call now,
Okay.
and going 21 and older at 11 o'clock in my 3 Chicago stores now.
So that's what you're thinking of in this store?
We would probably go in suit with that as well.
And how late
However,
are
you would also rent out daytime rentals for large groups of young people.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. Our
Yeah.
parties.
because that's the other thing they do is they rent the
Chief is
place out
here.
during the day for large groups of young people, where it's basically just them.
Yeah.
Because we've taken our school down to the one in Addison on a number of occasions during the day.
Yeah.
All right. How long has the one in Addison been there? Like 20 years, or
Oh, it's a long time.
15 years? Yeah.
is it 15?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, yeah.
I was going to say, it's been a good 12 years or so since I was there.
You want to speak into the microphone?
Yeah, 15 years, and the Gold Coast store was built right after, we opened right after Addison, so it was about a 6-month, about 6 month, November and then January.
Did you bring in live entertainment?
Some stores we do, you know, we may, but we haven't done it regularly in either of the stores, but we could. Some other stores have done that.
Okay. What if somebody wants to have a party and bring in music?
Yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah,
we can.
or it's a DJ or even,
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
a band?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. All right, so how big is a, quote unquote, a party room in here? I mean,
Rent the whole place.
it's it got expandable walls and such? So where's that space at?
Yeah?
Yes, the current floor plan, we've got 3 party rooms. and they are expandable. They have a folding partition between them.
Right.
So you can rent out, depending on the size of your party, from one to combine them into one large room, or, 3 smaller rooms, or.
And what's the capacity if you combine them all?
If you combine them all, it's probably 120 people or so.
Okay. Trustee Markberg.
A question then on the time. I thought I saw 2 o'clock, and now it's zoning area is 1 o'clock, so that's why I was just trying to verify.
Chief?
For how late we're open?
No,
Yes.
for alcohol.
Well, hell, they open also,
That
but
too,
I'd like
yeah.
both.
We're open at 2 o'clock on the weekends now. Our plan is to open from 11 till 2.
Isn't our alcohol 1 o'clock?
Our,
Probably on a
Center
Saturday,
ordinance.
it's 2 o'clock, and every other night you can do what? Well, you're not gonna do every
1
other night.
o'clock
yeah.
for alcohol.
Yeah.
That's why I was questioning. Chief, if you.
Well,
could answer
Saturday,
that.
Saturday we've had 2 o'clock license.
Yeah, I think on Friday and Saturday nights, we have 2 o'clocks.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, especially, well, if you're saying at 11 o'clock, you're going to 21 and older, I would think you wouldn't want to do it for 2 hours. I mean, the police department has to make some money,
At least we don't have to worry about neighbors being complaining.
Well,
the
yeah, that's
noise.
true, yeah. Okay.
Unlike where I live. But
Is there any other comments or questions for the petitioners here?
no,
Other than that, Bob, you can make your annual typical statement.
This is my standard speaking part on the concept review. This is concept review, and what the reactions you're getting from the board is just that, a reaction. It's not a commitment. It does not guarantee you success as you go through the process, but it certainly gives you a good indication of their preliminary reactions, but it's not binding in any way.
Did we give you any preliminary reaction? Very positive from this chair. Very positive from this chair.
as far as for your business coming to town, I welcome you, yes. I don't have a problem with
Okay.
that. We'll have to talk about the details as we go along, though.
Is that about it? Staff have any questions?
You'll see them come back when Westfield comes back for their zoning entitlements ultimately before the commission, and then coming back before the committee of the whole for a large recommendation.
Look, I have to, overstate the obvious here. If AMC doesn't go, this doesn't go?
That's,
No comment.
that's not it.
Two different projects?
It's what?
That's not in our strategy right now.
So this would still go forward?
One doesn't have anything to do with the other one?
Theater complex, multi-complex, Dave and Buster's. Dave and Buster's, would you still cut?
I don't think they're tied, but I'm not certain right now. The lease is still being negotiated, so I don't know.
We mean with AMC?
Dave
Right.
and Buster's.
Well, I'll ask Dave and Buster. Whoever the representatives are here, would you still come?
With-
Yes, we aren't tied to a theater deal. We're planning and wanting to come to the Village of Vernon Hills.
Okay.
Thank you, that was our question.
That's what-
Good news.
in other
Heyday's
words-
used to this. Heyday's been, how long you been doing this? How long you worked there when we were talking about expanding the mall? You've been there the whole
Oh,
9
gosh.
years?
I have, well, not on Vernon Hills, but
Okay.
with Westfield 9 years, yes.
So how many years have you officially been?
I checked my email. I think the first time I met John and Mike was in 2008,
Yep,
late 2008.
Okay, so you're like
4 years ago.
not that long then, compared to some. Okay.
But if you need help negotiating the leases, the mayor's available.
I have his
Yeah.
number.
We are the lease incentive. We are the lease incentive. Okay.
Next year's our 10th anniversary.
No, I know. What's the
Negotiation.
exact date? We should have like,
It's July of, it was when American English played at Summer Celebration. It was July of 2003. I remember exactly the date. It rained out, and it was a sloppy mess, and we were
Yeah.
sitting with Westfield and the
yeah,
conference.
where
room
were
there.
you when these negotiations first started?
That was somewhere else, I think.
This has nothing to
Luckily.
do with Dave and Buster's, but if you want to go to lunch, I'll be glad to elaborate.
Negotiation.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Appreciate
Thank
your
you
time.
very much.
thanks. Okay. And what's next? Port Clinton Place Opus Development Concept Presentation, so on and so forth.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sean Spellman from Opus Development Corp. is here tonight to present some proposed revisions to the approved plans for Port Clinton Place.
Is there anybody else here from Opus?
That's it.
Okay.
As you will recall, the Opus project had 179 total units that were approved for the site. Currently, there are 86 units that are completed with 20 occupied townhomes and 66 condos in either owned or rental form. So Mr. Spellman will go over his proposed request to revise the approved PUD and is requesting your direction to move forward on this project.
Hold on a second.
Sidebar.
I thought it was me.
How come your stuff's coming out? Mine looked like a hurricane. Look like a hurricane went through it.
I think your thing is dead.
Look at,
Okay, Sean.
Hey, good evening. Thank you for having me here tonight. I wanted to, I guess, reiterate what John talked about briefly and just a little bit of the history and where we're at and how we've gotten to where we're at today. And that, just a reminder, I'll do, just I have a pointer, but I'll use my hand. The existing, the Phase 1 development was completed in 2009. And obviously, a tough time to finish a for-sale condo and row home development. Since that time, 2009, the condominium tower consisted of 66 units, of which 6 were sold and closed on. The remaining 60 have since subsequently become rental units and are currently at 100% rental, which is, it's actually been holding very strong for us. It's been a very strong market. The row homes recently sold out. We actually had a unit available up until about 2 months ago, and we just sold the last unit there at a fairly significantly discounted price. The concept, and one that we've been talking with Mayor Byrne and others about for probably 8-9 months now, is how to put the balance of the development into play as a luxury apartment complex, purpose-built. We have, I'll go through this in 2 phases. I'll first start with the pad on the Route 45 side of the site, in which the concept we had for this was to push the development off of the Route 45 frontage and try to create what we felt to be transitional property from the tower into the row homes. And so we mirrored some of the architecture that we have in the actual row home development in the proposed apartment development. I think in your package you should have seen this rendering. Which is representative of the view from Route 45 towards the tower development.
Do you have a rendering of the backside of that?
I do not. I do not. We rendered the front of this. You know, I think the concept for me tonight, and it was to come and just get a general feeling from the group. We'd like to go forward and work with the village on furthering the development plans, but I don't have a picture of the back.
The reason I ask is because, and I've talked this over a little bit with Mr. Kalmernet, in looking at it, it's kind of it's one of those, there's pluses to both ways you do it. I'm wondering if this would not be better, both looking at the previous drawing you had up there of the site plan and this, if it were flipped. And the reason I'm saying that is, I understand this faces out and this will be a little better view for people driving by or the people across the street. But if you look at your plan that you had, the previous one up there, with the retention pond and that behind there, and then the other residential that you've got on 2 sides, by flipping this, it would be more of a sense of community for the actual people living there. In fact, yeah, thanks, John.
Thank you.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Because
Yeah, you know what?
Because I really, really like those courtyards in the middle. And my thought was, if that was flipped around so that that's all interior, then everybody else that's in that complex would all be looking onto each other and all be looking onto the lake, rather than looking at what is like the backside of the building overlooking the lake. And that's, or the retention pond and that. As I was thinking, I'm still not sure I've sold myself even on that idea, but I'd like to look at what the other side of the building, if it were flipped, what the other side of the building would look like from 45.
Sure, sure. Well, you know, just to respond to that directly, we've spent a lot of time thinking about the resident experience of the development. And the concept was, with open space and outdoor space, that the back of the development would have outdoor spaces and balconies. And so there would be places for people to go outside there. And the idea for us was to create an experience that was a trade-off, and either you get to pick the courtyard views and experience, or you get to pick the lake views and experience, as compared to flipping it, where really you're creating a 90% of the experience goes towards the lake, and then you essentially have a Route 45 visibility. And this elevation, the concept of the back elevation, as it currently reads, is much more vertical. It would lack some of the architectural intricacies that I think we've had here, but we can certainly look at that from a, you know what we should do? I could take a look at the back elevation.
I totally understand your argument, and
it was a rental. It was a rental concept. Is that as a renter, and this is going to be a high-end rental. So the concept for this, and we've talked about the unit mix, which is very important to us. All one bedroom plus then 2-bedroom units. So really catered towards the young professional. We've talked about some of the corporate clients we have. We have a very strong corporate client base from CDW and Takeda and others that are currently signing corporate leases at our other property. And that demand continues to grow in the area. So this is not really, the concept and the mold for this is to be a high-end luxury apartment, high-end dollars, and we try to create an equal experience for all the renters that really have an equal demand, but I understand your concept, and we can certainly consider it.
These pictures are what?
That's the PCP right now. That's actually phase 1 of Port Clinton. And so that's the interiors.
This is what? You mean townhome interiors?
Some were townhomes, some were apartment. There was a combination. I think there was a question raised by, I believe when we talked last, about the interior quality. And so the photos were really more to speak to the quality of, the intent was granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, hardwood floors.
So these photos represent interiors of the townhomes that are built?
Those are current yes, those were the townhomes. That is, yes, sir, in Vernon Hills. The ones that are existing.
Are there pictures of some of the condos/apartments?
The kitchens and the bathroom and the bedroom are all some of the condo finishes as they currently sit. So the concept in what we talked about was keeping the quality similar. That certainly will push the rents to a level we think will maintain the quality of tenants that we currently have at the development. I want to show you what we did next. Well, 1 bedroom, about $1,600 a month, $1,500 to $1,600 a month for a 1 bedroom.
And the sizes?
The sizes right now, we've made them a little bit bigger. We're at 850 square feet average for a 1 bedroom, 950 for a 1 bedroom plus den, and about 1,150, almost 1,200 square feet for a 2 bedroom. The parking is, this is on a podium. So the first floor is all parking. The parking ratios here are actually pretty fantastic when you look at the unit mix, and we can walk through a little bit of that. But let me show you a second picture I thought was the one we haven't showed yet, just hot off the press. It came to us today. This was a concept sketch of the revised tower. Lower in density and height, similar in quality with the full masonry exterior on the tower pad. But the concept is to bring some of the exposed roof, some of the mansard roof condition. This would be a stained seam metal roof concept with some of the residences facing the pond. The concept was the transition from this full masonry building to this full masonry building, and then have this look like and feel like part of the community of the row home. So from a color standpoint, from a quality standpoint, and from an overall finish standpoint, we envision them all really working well together. The idea being to give the resident an opportunity to start out as a renter and potentially move to be a homeowner with, obviously, the location, proximity to retail, proximity to restaurants is fantastic. So we really think that this could really add to the viability of the area.
Could you do a rooftop garden or anything on one of those buildings? That flat one, the lower one?
We hadn't considered that. There gets to be challenges with ADA and elevator, and et cetera, going to the roof end. So the rooftop gardens, although it could be an amenity, we hadn't really considered.
Sun deck or whatever you want to call it.
Ultimately, you'd never really see it from this view, so the idea would be there'd be mechanical equipment up on the roof, and it wouldn't be. But we from an amenity standpoint, we're trying to keep these developments relatively simple. There'd be a workout facility in this building, and the other building would really be strictly an apartment building.
You want to show the courtyards?
Yeah, we have two pictures of the courtyards as conceived. These are the courtyards on the row home development, looking from the row homes out. The idea is to create an open space outside where people can come gather, and frankly, the idea would be to put some grills out here and some other amenities for the space. Keep it simple, transition both from the development to Route 45 and the residential beyond, and then conversely, from the residential back to this development. We thought it'd be a real nice transition. In your packets, I had prepared some information just regarding the proposed density and parking as it relates to the overall development. One of the things that we did in conceiving this is our initial concepts, which we talked about probably 7-8 months ago, was much bigger and more dense. We brought that way, way, way down. The first building, I'll take this down here. The initial development, the first building on the row home pad is conceived at 102 units. The tower building is conceived at 3 floors of 15 units per floor for a total of 45 units. We really let parking drive the decision on this, and we felt strongly that the unit mix of 1 and 2 bedroom units, if you look at, as a company right now, Opus is currently developing over 1,000 units of market rate luxury apartments and student housing. And so we have some pretty good data on that nationally. And we find that the average bedroom tends to, if you do some averages, have about 1.5 residents per bedroom. So as you look at some of the parking counts, as it relates to the number of bedrooms, the number of bedrooms that we're proposing, the original PUD had 213 bedrooms between row homes and the condos. Right now we're at 185 bedrooms. And our original parking count was 197. Now we're at 301. So we actually have 104 more parking stalls in the new development than we did in our original PUD. So 301 stalls, and the bedroom count is down 28 people. So 28 rooms.
And how many acres is this whole site? 8?
The Opus site itself is about 8 or 10 acres at most.
I need to know exactly.
Okay.
Well, I'll ask, Sean, how many acres is this whole site?
I don't know exactly. I know the 2 sites that are available are 1.5 and just shy of 1. So I do know the acreage of the sites that we're looking at, but I don't know the overall development.
Well, how many acres is this site here?
That's the larger, that's about 1.5 acres. The other site's a little bit less than 1. That's about 0.8, this is about 1.5.
And how many units on the 1.5?
102.
That's a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, how many townhomes were left to build? 20?
27.
27.
Okay.
Well, remember,
I remember a lot.
Well, this property was about 30-plus acres in total for the TIF district. Out of that TIF district, we carved out several public roads, both across the CLC site and extending Port Clinton down. Also Town Center Road. Burn was also carved out of there. So there's public roads in there. There's
Right.
also detention facilities in there. So
We're kind of like their development partner, right?
um,
Beyond that, right?
we did reimburse them for some public road
Well,
construction.
we did a lot of public improvements on our.
Well, actually, they did. We reimbursed them.
Well, okay, well.
For
so
traffic
where's that put
signals
up?
and roads
Yeah.
and things like that.
But we don't do that all the time.
Correct.
So this is kind of a special project.
Mhm.
Well, you know. Anyway,
I'm still hung up on the parking, I'm sorry.
There's 301 stalls right now between the two buildings.
Okay, I
This-
understand that, but I don't see any visitor parking on anything.
Oh, there is visitor parking on both sites. From the site plan, I can show you that site plan. Oh, I lost it.
Where's the parking for that?
There's visitor surface parking in front of the tower pad, in front of and next to this pad. This is an entire surface lot. There are some stalls, yes ma'am, in front of the building, along the side of the building, then this entire parking lot, where our current sales trailer is all a perceived or conceived parking. Yes ma'am.
Well, that's one of the pluses to your redesign, the number of parking spaces per bedroom is increased, per bedroom is increased a bunch.
You know, I spent some time watching a few other of your board meetings, and I've noticed that some of the same themes come up over and over. So parking obviously hugely important, especially in this corner, in this corridor. And we really felt that our current development, as it sits, has excess parking. There are excess stalls available at the current tower pad on our Phase 1 development. This will have significantly more parking available for residents and guests.
Does the figure of 2.04 per unit, does that include all of the guest parking?
Yes,
Okay. So it includes every parking space available?
yes.
Okay.
As it relates to Phase 2.
Yes.
So obviously not
As
the ban-
relates to the new PUD,
Yes.
the request on a new PUD.
You know, if you've been out there, the most of the stalls out front here of the existing tower aren't currently full, so there is, not that but they aren't being used very efficiently or very full right now. But there are new stalls conceived for this part of the development. From a timing standpoint, Opus certainly has had quite a story the last 3 or 4 years. And so we, as of literally today, currently own the entire property and the notes. We've actually purchased it back from the bank who was holding the notes. So we have complete control of the property now. We are dedicated and committed to this development. The concept, we think there's a window for multifamily. We think that, you look at the demand that we have right now in our current development. We have a waiting list right now at the PCP Phase 1 tower. And it's a waiting list from clients like Takeda, clients like CDW who want to do more corporate leasing. And there is a professional growth in the area from a workforce standpoint, and there is a need for the additional market rate, but luxury housing. So conceptually, what we would like to do would be to work with the village on furthering the design and the concept, and then come back in maybe 45 days with this taken to the next step, where we start to look at what we would be requiring or needing as far as other construction type and other details with respect to the development, with anticipation of breaking ground, depending on how quick the process went, yet this year, probably August, September of this year, and deliver sometime in 2014. It'd probably be fall. This is about 12. I'm guessing a 14-month construction process here. It's with 2 buildings, about 14 months.
You know, okay. When did we approve their project the first?
2005, 2006.
And they secured ownership of the land when?
2002.
Oh,
And the TIF was up and running when?
Right about that same time.
And one development partner's done right now, right? Pretty much.
to the east.
It's got one lot, correct.
You know, Sean, we've met a couple of times, and, you know, the increment is important. I don't think it's gonna change, you know, life as we know it and services as we know it in this town. You know, because we've been living without any revenue from you guys for these vacant pieces, you know, for 5 years, probably going to 7.
Okay.
So, you know, why do we collectively have to totally acquiesce with the density issue? I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, wait, your drawing there is 1.5 acres.
Mhm.
And how many units would go in there?
102.
102 in that drawing there,
Yes, sir.
on an acre and a half.
Mhm.
You know, we don't, you know, I mean, obviously we gotta grant them, we gotta adjust the whole PUD, right?
Just this portion.
Okay, so okay, would we allow somebody on an acre and a half, if it wasn't tied into the TIF, wasn't tied into a PUD, to build that product? I mean, it's off the page as far as the number of units, you know?
Hmm.
I mean, how many units, I mean, by our own ordinance, could he build it on an acre and a half of land?
Well,
Just,
if it was straight R7 zoning, you could do 14.5 units per acre.
right,
If it was straight R7. This is a PUD, which allows for flexibility within the design.
flexibility.
Absolutely.
We gave a lot of
But it-
flexibility to everybody.
But it allows you some design flexibility to create the TIF district.
Well, I guess the question is, do we want to give them that much more flexibility? Because we've already we put a lot of density here already.
And that's why he's here tonight to ask that question. So,
Well, I mean, the land, you know, this land was, you know, bought from Berkeley, how long ago? You know, do you know what Berkeley is? You know what I mean? And, you know, so the price of the land, I don't know, you know, if it was exorbitant back then, but that was probably way before the TIF district. You know what I mean? Before we really set it up. So we were still assembling land and they made that purchase. So it's like,
Okay.
okay, you know, what's the carry on that? And, you know, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, this is the market, but, you know, okay, that's great, but that isn't something where we have to bend over backwards to accommodate you, you know? You know, and unless Larry, you know, does a special memo saying the TIF is gonna totally close unless we approve this, you know, it's kinda like, I still feel it's too much density, and I also feel, you know, the whole site is kinda cheap. And that's right from my heart. You know, I mean, we haven't even got into, you know, what the building materials are or anything, like in the 4-story building. Is that a 4-story building that's gonna replace the 6-story?
Yes, sir.
So is everything masonry in there? Everything's a concrete separation, just like the 6-story?
The concept is it's a masonry building, stick-built, concrete first floor, stick-built above masonry shell.
You know, that isn't what the condo building was built out of, was it, John?
no, sir.
What?
No, sir.
No. You know,
When you add in the other building, going from 6 to 4, What's the number, what do you, a ballpark on units on that one?
On the four-story?
Yeah.
It's 45, it's 15 units per floor. It was really a function of parking. We wanted to make sure we maintained a 2-to-1 parking, so we had 90 parking stalls and 45 units.
All right.
Does staff have any comments on this?
The only comment we would make is the petitioner's here requesting direction. And I
Okay.
think having direction will help not only him moving forward, and will also help the staff understand what the board is looking for. Because at this point, and I think Sean can verify this, I think economically, I think there's some questions whether what was approved is financially viable going forward on this on the property. So from that standpoint, just having some direction with regards to this property is important. Under the previous PUD, there were variations granted for separation between units. Opus chose not to do those, but there was, as a part of the original PUD, they were granted. So,
I mean, even in the condo,
all the buildings.
but none of them were built like that.
They chose not to, but it was granted as a part of the PUD.
So did our other development partner? He did, it's all masonry.
Okay. So that option was granted and allowed. So, but again, we're just looking for direction, I think, as Mr.
Right.
Spellman is too. So,
And again, we've waited this long, so now, do we want to, I guess, increase the density and also let a cheaper product actually be built than what's there?
I wouldn't call the product cheaper, other than the fact that it's a different type of unit. The product itself is unbelievably expensive, and frankly, it costs more to do this than the previous, but the condo sales certainly are a long way
I'm
off.
not asking you to do condos, I'll let you call it an apartment building,
Well, one of the things, though, about the density is, though, even though the number of units goes up by about 40%, maybe 50%, the number of bedrooms actually decreases by about 20%. Because there are less multi-bedroom units. So, I mean, that's a kind of a trade-off on what you actually talk about in terms of density. The number of units goes from 93 to 147, if I'm reading all this right, and the number of bedrooms goes from 213 down to 180. There are so many more one-bedroom units in this.
But the row homes goes from 81 to 119.
And then you're going down to the ratio.
No.
You're showing parking ratio.
Right, but the difference from the condo to condo apartments goes from 132 to 66, so total beds goes from 213 to 185.
Oh, the overall, right.
Right.
I'm talking about just the row homes. That went up.
But the row home apartments
Right.
are smaller than what would have been there. So the total number of bedrooms drops from 213 to 185.
185.
Which is 28, that's a little better than 10%. Maybe 18% drop in that.
I got a suggestion as far as getting closure on this tonight. Maybe on this one, and correct me if I'm wrong, and if nobody agrees, it's fine. We ought to bring this back after the first of the year, have this discussion when we have a full board. And, hear from a couple other people.
I just want to, and I do like the courtyard. I like that. But I'm a little hung up on why what does the other side look like toward the lake? Is it the same as this side?
We don't
Yeah,
know.
see, that's the same question. I
Well-
really would like to see that other
Yeah.
elevation.
It's,
To see what the other
we hadn't gone too deep in the design,
Right.
only because we didn't know what direction we were getting. These are $5,000 per rendering, so we wanted to take it easy on before we went too crazy. This elevation, I anticipate, would look similar to it. It's going, the idea was that this would look and feel like the row homes in both material use and also in design. So the concept was the peak roofs and also probably a 60% masonry, 40% other material that looked very similar to the row homes, which I think were well received. So that was the idea, was to transition this around the yard and have the courtyard space. So we can look at turning it, we can,
Living there, I'd want to see the lake as opposed to 45.
Or you could look at the courtyard.
And the other thing is when you do talk about that large side on the other side, the concern is the massing of that other side, and what kind of architecture breaks up that massing of that other side. I mean, it's almost as if you took this side with the two courtyards and filled it in across. That would look significantly different, and that's why,
Okay.
from my mind at least, seeing what that other rendering kind of looks like would be important.
and I guess that the crux of my conversation and the reason I'm here, and we have no problem, and we're all for doing renderings and moving forward, but if the density is still an issue that people are having a challenge with, we'll need to rethink the whole concept. And I was looking for some direction, really tonight, on density and parking, hoping to further develop the plans to a point where we could come back in for further approvals based on where we're at today. I think last time I had met with Mayor Byrne, we had talked about the density. I thought I had heard the density looked to be in line, assuming we could qualify the quality of the development and interior finishes. So that was the direction I was headed. So if I misunderstood that or went in a wrong direction, I apologize. I was hoping to get to a point where we could start to further take this down.
Don't get, become a revisionist on me. One thing I did say, I said, even with this product, and even with, the 3-story over the below grade parking, I said, don't cheapen it with the building materials.
Right.
And what I meant by that, and I told you this, and by the way, does he know he's got to put elevators in these buildings?
Yes.
They're already in.
Okay, great. But with that said, what I wanted was the masonry separation. The span-creek concrete floors between floors, just from a opportunity, I mean, more for, the quiet enjoyment of these people living there. I mean, Barb lives next door. I mean, yeah, there is an importance there, And so again, you have varied from what you and I discussed, just you and I across the table from each other.
I
I
apologize.
mean, if I had to bring a recorder, or a court reporter, I probably should have, but I didn't think I needed to, Sean.
I wasn't going that direction. I was just
Yeah,
hoping
well,
that.
okay, so, and I've always had a problem with the density.
Okay,
Very good. But, as far as trying to figure this out within reason, but I mean, this is a lot more units than what was approved. Now, if you don't think it is, that's because maybe you weren't here when we went through that whole process, and I'm sorry the economy tanked, but, you guys had the opportunity to build your product out before, our other development partner did. And it's not you, but there's a lot of issues here just because there's curvy lines in there even citing these buildings. If staff wants to say yes or no to that comment, let me know. I just remember we agonized over that. Anyway.
Okay.
Always brought me to the comment that, well, if it's a perfect square box and a rectangular box, Opus can build on it. But that's an office building, and you've done some very nice stuff in town. And your condo's very nice. But I don't want it,
Yeah, I don't think we're looking for, I did hear that loud and clear about construction quality, condo-like quality, condo finishes. So we certainly understood that, and I was hoping we were taking the direction a step further tonight. So I'd be happy to come back after the first year and represent what the concepts are. If there's something you'd like to see me modify, change, or take a different approach or look at, I guess I'm looking for that direction, if I can have some thoughts on that as a takeaway.
I think you ought to, maybe go back. I'm not recommending to send this to technical review. I'm recommending we put this on the agenda. I don't care if it's for the first meeting you know, after, of the new year. And when we get 2 other people here. And it's probably to your benefit.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, it might be, I don't know.
Well, on that point, I agree with the mayor, because I am kind of in a quandary about the density, because the number of people will be less, though the number of units will be more. So it's kind of a trade-off for me, but I would like to hear what the other 2 trustees have to say.
Okay, very good. In the meantime, I could spend some time on that back elevation to see how that would be rendered and look from the lakeside. And we could look at, and then obviously you could turn it
And
either
it wouldn't
direction.
need to be this detailed or this color, just as long as you get an idea of the massing of the architecture, and that
Yeah,
is probably the most significant thing to me.
I can't turn our guy down. He's got 1 speed, so
Yeah.
so we'll it'll look like this, but it'll be the
All right.
back elevation. Thank you for your time.
No, it's Dave Brown.
As you're developing this, I just wanted to point something out that's very important. You might want to include your engineer on is the way it's currently facing. Look at how you get your runoff into the detention pond. I think that's going to be something important for you to look at while you're developing the plan. So just a heads up for you.
I'll let people know. Thank you.
Hey, Larry Nacken, you want to speak to this?
Yeah, not speaking to the specific project, I guess it works without that. But I did want to point out that, you know, next year we'll be having about $1.2 million of TIF revenues, which is more than sufficient to cover debt service the next few years. But eventually it does climb up to the 1.8, 1.9 million. So, you know, we do need some more development there, not necessarily, you know.
Unless we take it out to what, 35 years?
Which would take an act of the legislature.
We can do that though, right, under the statute? Wait, whoa. Wait a second. You sure? I thought we had that discussion. This is a 23-year TIF.
In order to extend the life of the TIF district from 23 to 35 years, it takes legislation downstate.
Okay, so we'd have to,
Got to get it from downstate.
right, we'd have to call in our legislators and ask them to lobby,
Correct.
to champion us. Okay, all right. That's about it. We'll bring you back, I guess, on the 9th. That's our first meeting, right?
We'll have to pick a date, Your Honor. So,
Okay, because we got an agenda already set?
we're close, so it'll either be that or the 24th.
Okay,
Thank you. Have a good holidays.
all right. Oh, it's in February.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, it is. Okay. AAA.
Thank you, Your Honor. Representatives from AAA are here tonight to present their plans for a proposed building which will house both the traditional AAA services along with their newest business, which is offering car care and light automotive repairs. They're proposing to locate this on the 1.08 acre site, which is Lot 5 in the Shops at Greg's Landing. This is the last vacant lot along Milwaukee Avenue between the existing multi-tenant store end unit being Panda Express and the newly constructed and completed Mariano's parking lot, which is fronting along Milwaukee and also the detention pond along there. So with that, I'll turn it over to Bill Schenk from Bradford, and he can walk you through something.
Again, yeah, my name is Bill Schenk with Bradford. I just wanted to quickly say hello, say Bradford is behind this project, and introduce the AAA's consultants, and they'll run you through the project, and then they'll have all the details.
Hello, I'm Jake Hugh Freeman, real estate consultant for AAA. About 10 or 11 years ago, AAA decided to get into a new business as a service to members and the general public, whereas they'd historically been in the roadside assistance, motor club services, travel and insurance business. They noticed that there was a void in the marketplace when folks had new cars on warranties. They got off warranties. There was not a higher end of service for maintenance and light repairs. And they started this concept, the AAA Car Care Plus, which does include light automotive repairs with a travel and insurance business on the front of the house. It's expanded with about 50 locations, primarily on the eastern seaboard, and they're reaching to expand into Chicagoland now. I'll walk you through the general operations of a site. Well, I'll take you back to the overall shopping center here. This is Lowe's, this is Mariano's, expanded parking, and this is the proposed AAA site with Starbucks here and other restaurants in this multi-tenant retail building. This is the proposed AAA with the front of house being travel and insurance, and then in the back, light automotive repair. As a customer would come into the site, they would pull in and park in a customer parking space and walk into the building where they would talk to a service writer or travel and insurance if that was the business they're in. If it's automotive repair they're looking for, they'd talk to a service writer who would then direct them to a waiting room, come out, look at the car, and then an employee would drive the car in for any maintenance or repair. When that's complete, the employee brings it back out, parks it in the parking lot, and gets the customer to come out and get their car and take it home. We do offer a porter service or concierge to take customers back home or off to do shopping or to their place of business. And the interior is typically laid out like this, with the front doors here, travel and insurance services here. This is a greeter, or just they direct customers and have books and attraction tickets back there. Then here would be your service writers for automotive repair, waiting area that looks out onto the automotive shop. Everything in the shop is above ground. There are no floor drains. They keep a very clean shop. All oil is self-contained. And again, the use is primarily diagnostics and maintenance. We do change tires, although it's not a big business. We don't store a lot of tires. If needed, we can have them delivered within the day to put on a customer's car. This is the proposed exterior of the building, which is intended to match the existing architectural style of the shopping center. It's brick, a stone water table, and then ephes or stucco above. It is a four-sided building. We've got, so there. That's the sides, and then we've got front and rear. Here. So this would face Milwaukee, and this would face interior of the shopping center, with the sides being there. That's essentially it. Can I answer any questions?
There's a special use here, right,
Yes, sir.
for the overhead doors?
No, for actually the automotive repair portion of this.
Well, that's, okay,
So,
all right. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Okay, and the doors will be facing what direction?
The Starbucks restaurant people, the bay doors?
towards Starbucks and then north as well.
North and south.
Yeah, north and south. So Starbucks is in this building here. And pond in front of Mariano's.
Yeah, they're actually pretty much facing the back of the Starbucks building where the drive-through starts, or where you loop around for the drive-through. And then the north side is facing basically the detention pond and the overflow Mariano parking.
Fake windows. That's facing, no,
Does staff have any questions or concerns, or
this is the back.
No.
everything's?
They're proposing to use a unified access there with the adjacent properties, so there will not be an additional driveway cut. And that was always anticipated when we did the master planning for these lots. So I think they've worked well or done well to incorporate this plan into the overall development plan for the property. The one thing we were just talking about is the possibility of maybe extending the blue awnings over the garage doors to create a unified color package along along both elevations. That might actually help a little bit. Other than that, I think the general thought is that it's a well-designed building, consistent with the existing architecture that's out there. In fact, I was talking with somebody today and mentioned this is probably one of the first times we've seen a building come in where you really don't have to do much in the way of changing it to make it look like the other buildings that are in there. So.
No, but I do like your suggestion of the awnings. I think that, I think that continues the look all the way around. That's a good suggestion.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It takes, the way it is now, the garage bay doors and that almost look like a gap in the building, where that awning brought across there would probably bridge that. That's a good suggestion.
Okay.
And, is there any concerns about the ambient noise coming out of here in the summer and when the doors are open?
Maybe you can ask it.
We do use air wrenches. The back of the building is conditioned, but the doors are left open in the summer months, and there can be noise. We don't typically get complaints. We're in other shops.
And you have this prototype built somewhere else?
We do. The most recent building like this was built down in Atlanta, Georgia, and it does not have the stonework, but otherwise it doesn't have it's not a four-sided building. The back of the building is just plain brick.
So you're going to do oil changes?
It's oil changes, diagnostics, brakes. We don't crack transmissions. We don't drop engines, tire changes.
And then we'll have to, they will comply with all our oil handling waste issues?
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I guess I'll ask the gentleman from Bradford. I mean, okay, the parking lot's expanded at Mariano's, but did Mariano's buy those parking lots?
No.
No, they're currently leasing them.
So, say at some future date, do you guys own them, or is that, okay?
Yes.
So potentially you could build on them?
Yep.
Okay. So how many outlets are there that the parking lot took up?
I think in the newest lot there were two.
Yeah, lots 11 and 12.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah,
and then there are three, I think there are three remaining vacant lots along Greg's Parkway, and then the other vacant lot, which I forget is 7?
7 was the first lot.
Is the first expansion,
I believe
right,
there's
so.
only 2 lots left.
Okay.
Great
Right.
Parkway.
So,
Yeah, all right, well.
Yeah, 9 and 10 are really the only vacant.
right,
Correct, 2 lots left.
thank you.
So, I mean, technically, okay, the proximity of those lots are what, contiguous to this building's lot? I mean, I'm talking in the future, right?
Yes, you mean lot 5 and
12 would be, yeah.
12, the parking lot to the south.
Right. So how would this facility impact on, say, a restaurant where they wanted to have outdoor dining because it's, near the pond?
Well, I mean, there is a little bit of outdoor dining right now in front of the adjacent 4-unit building.
Well, I'm talking an upgrade, John, from a Panda Express.
Full service.
You throw in.
Yeah, I mean, like, like a restaurant, because, hey, this is kind of nice here, but how would this building impact on that kind of a future use?
Well, I mean, you will, if you're sitting out there at lunch during the day and you're having, lunch with somebody, you may very well hear air tools going off during the summertime. Now, could that adjacent restaurant incorporate some berming and landscaping that would help mitigate some of that? Absolutely. They could do an enclosed screen wall or something like that around that dining area. So there are those options to be able to limit that impact. Is it going to mitigate the sound all the way?
No. But, I mean, what are we doing here? Well, we don't have a landscape plan here, right?
No.
Well, it's just a concept on the site
the
plan.
concept
So,
plan.
Little bush there. That's it. I was trying to figure out how to get more, but I can't figure it out.
You mean on 11, 12? Because there's room there to put in quite a bit more landscaping on the,
On that north
what would be the southeast corner of 12 there.
Yeah, there's currently some landscaping on that
Yeah.
south edge of the parking lot, but
Yeah.
there is plenty of room to add more or earthwork or berm.
Because what you're looking at in the upper right portion of that drawing there is the southeast corner of lot 12, the parking.
Right. So on that side, you could put some more landscaping that would buffer it a little bit.
Right.
better.
And I would assume if you're going to build, you'd probably start with 11 as opposed to 12. If you were taking back a lot.
Yeah, I would think, yeah.
well, in the green space area that's available there, I mean, you could do some earth mounding and everything like that. I think Bradford has some extra dirt along lot number 11 that they could probably include there. And the like. So there are some ways to mitigate some of the impact.
Something else in that side for a possible restaurant to go.
I think that would eliminate the
Would help
restaurant,
eliminate some of
I mean, a higher end restaurant's not gonna go next to the auto repair shop.
No, but then you got 9 and 10 for that, yeah.
Well, and probably the more likely location is probably out closer to the intersection of Greg's and Milwaukee. I think you'll probably see some kind of additional transitional use that would go in here at some point. What that would be is unknown, and quite honestly, how it would integrate with the internal circulation road for Mariano's would be something we would have to work through. Short term, I don't see that happening. Long term, I think they're more likely to put up higher end restaurants closer to the mall and that general area, maybe the northeast
But, yeah,
corner
I mean,
at some
just for
point.
the record, this is tantamount to just kind of dropping a Jiffy Lube there.
Okay.
We certainly like to differentiate ourselves from Jiffy Lube. It's and that is. Well, that too. It has been positioned. I probably didn't do a great job of explaining this, but part of the concept was to be above the rest of the national guys out there, because when you do come off warranty with a new car, you went from having the dealer experience to a huge step down, and this concept is more akin to the dealer experience with higher end finishes on the inside, with an increased level of service. They compete for those employees or technicians hired away from dealers. So they have to keep a clean shop. They have to keep a conditioned environment back there. So it's certainly not a Jiffy Lube, and several steps above a Sears as well. Same, they do provide similar services, but it's a different customer base. The target market is.
just originally going, it's the elevation to the, towards the Lowe's. I was asking if they would have, is it just brick in the back, or are they gonna put fake, it looks like it's just framed with brick, is that correct?
The intent,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, this is brick, these are ephes panels, and then the stone water table.
Because I was looking like a fake window or.
Some kind of a faux glass.
Yeah, because it would look very similar to the front,
Mhm.
and that's a possibility. Yeah, it's not a great, but.
We, also on the other buildings, we used a brick pattern to differentiate these panels too. If you look at the Staples building, on the backside, there were a number of those types of panels. So there's any number of applications that could be brought to bear here that would help break those panels up if you felt that was appropriate.
And we're flexible. And
Well, and didn't we on the north side of Mariano's, and they use some of that faux glass on the,
They did, absolutely.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's on the west side of it, I believe. And maybe even the north as well.
They did,
North and south sides.
Okay.
So, because the west side is the loading area.
Oh, that's
So.
right. Yes.
And of the 7,790 feet, how much is dedicated to office, reception area?
it's about 1/3, 2/3, closer to 60/40, but
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean,
It's a really interesting
I mean,
concept.
well, no, it's 2/3 of the building is,
His office.
no, not
I mean,
2/3, not 2/3, no, 2/3 is the repair
Is the
facility.
repair facility,
Probably
I'm
more.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's a different use for this site.
It's a different use, different concept.
I guess that's why it's called special.
It's different. I like that. I don't have a problem. As long as we dress it up with some more evergreens and landscaping, go for it.
Or yeah, well, and then if we're gonna move this on, I mean, yeah, some kind of landscaping or barrier. I don't know, maybe you even put up a board-on-board fence, for God's sake. People aren't going there to look at the pond. You know, okay?
Well,
I'm
there's
just saying for somebody else.
there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I mean, I don't think I mean, if you're going to create barriers, you want to use landscaping to do that, not necessarily
Right.
physical impediments or barrier walls or the like. So, if that's what you all want to see, we can work with them to, screen that what would be the northwest quadrant of the property and
Right.
help screen it and do some things like that.
Got something along that west wall,
Yep.
something back there.
Yeah, yeah.
But the concept is unique, it's different.
Well, it's not that unique.
I think it is.
Mayor,
Think
Okay.
about it.
Mayor,
You got maps in there and
Yeah, okay.
insurance and.
Dave,
as we're looking at that specific location, just a heads up, there's a major emergency overflow to have everything from Lowe's and the other parking lots all draining into the detention pond. So I just want to keep that when you're visioning what should go in there, that we make sure we don't block that overflow with a large berm. And we understand we need to do some screening.
so would a board-on-board fence would be okay?
No, that would be in the way.
I don't think this board would approve that.
Well, I'm concerned about the residents that are gonna see this, and I'm sure this doesn't have to notify anybody, right? No. I mean, people that are gonna be in and out, well, or people living in Greg's Landing, No, but you're gonna see it coming and going, and half the free world goes to Mariano's, so.
you can get your car done and walk over to Mariano's.
Yeah, I'm not, I mean, I just went, no, I don't want to. I'm just talking, some kind of screening there.
In the northwest corner?
Jan, you're gonna be looking at the doors. The doors aren't always gonna look this nice when they're closed. The doors are gonna be open.
Right.
And
Well, that's one of the other
What
reasons I
goes
think
on inside a,
the
you know,
awnings
an
are
auto
good.
repair shop? Come on.
Mechanic working on a car.
You know, we could look at keeping the doors closed and talk operationally if that was a condition.
I don't want to do that to the people working there. I'm just saying.
Well,
you
it is,
know.
it's a conditioned space, and we can put in, you know, we have, there are facilities where that is required, and it's been done before, so if that's, it's obviously a concern of y'all's, we can certainly try to accommodate it.
I'm sure the mechanics would love to have an air conditioning area to work.
It's, I was gonna say, in the middle of July, I'd rather have the door closed and be air conditioned than,
And in practice, those doors let people know what kind of business we're in, and if
I don't disagree.
we'd like to, you know, if it's having the doors closed, it's probably more appealing to us than
I mean,
a
you know,
large berm
it
or
is what
fence.
it is. I mean, this is, you know,
but I
not
think,
it's not an office.
I think
It's
Mr.
an automotive repair joint.
But I
you
think
know.
Mr. Kelmer's suggestion of the awnings and that helps break up some of that look, big time.
Well,
It's a nice building.
maybe, you know, I mean, maybe I shouldn't worry about the fact that anything will ever go in, because the parking lots will be there forever, because Mariano's gonna,
Maybe build another one, parking lot.
but it does change the character of who would go there in the future.
Well, you won't have a white tablecloth restaurant going next door to it.
What, I'm
We'd
sorry,
have
I'm
one
sorry,
there
Jack, go ahead.
anyway.
No,
Go ahead.
I understand what your comment is, so.
I'm not sure you do.
No, I do. I absolutely do. I believe I understand what you're looking for. But I don't think that we're going to see white tablecloth restaurant go next door to this. I mean, it will be, again,
I agree.
I think it will be a transitional use or uses that will go across eventually to build out these outlots, if in fact they ever get built out. Mariano's has done a very good job. They continue to do a very good job, and we hope that that parking lot is always needed going into the future.
Right.
So,
But this isn't a real passive use.
well,
compared
you
to
won't
like
see,
a
you won't see a
Starbucks.
passive use out there, so I guess I
I'm
don't
talking-
understand.
I mean, like, you know, what's there now?
Yeah, it's a vacant lot.
No, what's the other uses that are there now?
Well,
You have a
this will
drive-through.
generate significantly less traffic than something like the Starbucks and I mean.
Right.
'cause
I mean, you have a
Yeah.
drive-through on the south end of the building, you have multiple
Yeah.
fast food places in there that go along with that.
They're gonna generate an awful lot more traffic than this.
I think this is gonna generate a little bit of traffic, as Mike just said, for Lowe's and Mariano.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it ties in.
So essentially, this could go anywhere in town. And be compatible.
I don't know if I'd say that.
Again, it would be allowed via special use.
Right.
And go through the same process that this use is going to be required to go through up at this location. So, yes, potentially, in the B1 district.
Okay.
We have that one auto repair shop over in, the
Ernie's?
business
Oh,
park over
Ernie's.
there, just east of.
Oh, that's,
Yeah,
yeah, in the
that's
business
Star
park,
Auto.
it's all,
Thank you.
it's all
Sorry.
indoors.
That's a big complex.
Yeah.
But it is a development, is all I'm saying, in a business area.
I mean, I don't see this fitting over at the TIF with those restaurants and what we have there, but here with the Staples and fast food and Starbucks and a bank, I don't see it as, that it doesn't fit.
Okay.
I really have a big problem.
I think that means it's my turn to talk, and that is to say that this is concept review, and nothing you've heard here is binding on the village. And when you come back, you know, they certainly have the opportunity to respond in any way, so you can't count on any guaranteed approval, just through this process.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. At least I didn't check nothing from up there in accent.
I can tell you this. It is probably one of the nicest buildings
Okay.
that I've seen.
Mm.
And
It's
And then on
nice by Starbucks and stuff.
the
You're saying
county-
We ready to go into closed session to discuss
in an automotive
Property
gas, but I'm not
disposition
gonna enough.
and potential litigation.
Okay, motion to adjourn and go to closed session for those two.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
President Byrne,
Aye.
Trustee Cook,
Aye?
Trustee Markwart,
Aye.
Trustee Schultz, Trustee Schwartz,
Aye.
Trustee Williams, Trustee Hebda.
Motion carries. Committee of the whole is adjourned.
She's sick. Mhm,
Oh,
the son.
you're in there? Oh.
No, Mike's in there. Mike's in there.
Oh, Mike's in there.
From one mic to another?
From one
Oh.
mic to another.
I noticed a sense of disappointment. But, hey, what the hell?
I thought Barb was all excited because she made the